Hey people, CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 63 of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Last time, using Iris's cat Flappinator, which was given to us by Holmes, which he received from Susato, we were able to prove that basically Ashley, he had basically been lying in his testimony, and the reason he was able to lie about the cat door that was not present, the flap that was not present in Windibank's door at the time of the crime, is because Gregson was working with him. And so now we are trying to prove basically just what's going on here. The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. How the bleeding Nora could you? We discovered, during the course of this trial, the music box deposited at Windibanks by Magnus McGilded, a special music box designed to play two discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in McGilded's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put to you, Inspector, in that order to recover the second disc containing the three secrets. These secrets. You covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the discs for details of the case. You little... Ah! Order! On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windibanks, you said this. I'll be taking out whatever is of me gilded down to the yard. Thank you very much. So hand it over. No, don't give it to him. It's mine. That is mine. I'm sorry, miss, but everything belonging to McGilly has to be taken as evidence now. Scotland Yard already knew at the time, isn't that right? That Magnus McGilded was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey the secret leaked from the mystery. And do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. And that explains why. When I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. Blimey, not likely, I mean, I wasn't even sure of it myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness. To aid and abet this man in giving false testimony? There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known the existence of the peephole. It's the only explanation. A deal was struck between these two men. No! Gah!
Objection!
If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What? What's that supposed to mean, eh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly, he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this manner. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Good gracious, then, you mean to say Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? He has the second disc actually on his person?
Yes!
The defense demands that the inspector is searched at once.
Definitely! They could only have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was satisfying before! And Gracie hasn't moved from the witness stand since!
My lord, please, order an examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector. This young lad wants to tear down his imagination. He's insulted me and my profession quite enough. However, if he'll put this matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's going to agree with it? I presume you're aware of the precipice on which you now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If following the search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, You will be deemed unfit for court service. The trial will end, and I will drink to your defeat before publishing my novel about the evils of your land. And my country's government will formally demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. And I will have my book published, and I will be leading the charge against your government.
That sounds serious.
Indeed, to have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook.
You're just threatening Ryuno because you're scared.
The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences.
It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here.
Very well. Counsel, you know the implications, so let me ask you one final time.
Yes, my lord?
Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects?
Search someone else.
No!
No!
Yes!
What? Why'd my controller do that? I was trying to go down to search someone else! Yes, the defense demands that Inspector Gregson search at once, because apparently my controller wants this.
Very well. Are you ready to proceed, Inspector?
By Marcus, And then watch how this gets me an instant game over, until a brief eye search was carried out by the court bailiff. A few short minutes later, it was revealed that the inspector had nothing unusual on his result. I knew this! I knew this! Watch how I get game over! Gah!
That's what I thought.
What?
Well, you heard Gregson before. He almost invited the search. It was obviously he wouldn't find anything.
I was trying to go down one! I'm serious, my controller malfunctioned and went up! You saw me try to go down to select the other option! You saw it! Because I mentioned that before I monumentally put my foot in my mouth.
Well, Counsel, what do you have to say for yourself now? Have you learned from your lesson, or do you intend to embarrass more people in this courtroom?
This is bad. Search someone else. Yes, the defense formally demands the search to be conducted.
Well, don't say you weren't warned. But your typical Nipponese stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good.
Fair enough, I've got no nod.
Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal effects, please.
The defense demands a search, but not of the Inspector Gregson.
What?
And what's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? I thought you'd want to search me. No, Inspector, not you. Someone else.
What's the matter this eye? Lost your last, have you, Sunshine? The court shouldn't have put up with this nonsense. You're being completely irrational.
I don't know who's speaking. Iris!
Ryuno's doing what you are told to do and having the courage of his convictions. So you should respect and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way.
Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction and eagerly await his next words.
Do what? Now don't be hasty, my lord. If I'm not mistaken about the things I've seen in this court today, I'm fairly sure that I know who has the disc at the moment. There's only one person it could be.
Counsel, of whom do you request the search now?
Take that! Yeah, because basically of the whole shaking his coat. Of my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin.
Well, I never.
Eh?
Blimey!
Me?
Him? Very well then, bailiff. Restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his personal effects. Lies, my lord! Inspector?
Scotland Yard. I subject to the search.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight here.
Oh, come on. I'm trying to turn my timer off because I feel that this is actually going to be the finale. Come on, turn off. Now I got to adjust it because it's in the charger. My iPad's in the charger. Okay, yeah, I already that.
Hey! In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object.
But Lord Van Zakes!
I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions.
Stupid mucus.
But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. Bailiff, carry out the search.
Now, hold on, Mo. I don't know nothing. Nothing about no disc. Cut it out!
Here, my lord, in the witness's pocket. I found this.
Good lord, that's another music box disc?
I didn't know nothing about it.
Nothing. That is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not Inspector Gregson?
Order! Mr. Skulkin, what have you to say for yourself?
Gordon Bennett. I mean, just Gordon Flaming Bennett. I swear I didn't do nothing about that disc. Honest to God.
Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck between this witness and this detective, no?
Without question, my lord.
Then, for pity's sake, why on earth was this man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information?
Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure. At one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment.
I don't recall. What unusual behavior?
It was, yes, during my cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? I admit to nothing of the sort.
I am not Big Brother Skulky!
While Mr. Graydon answered my questions, the inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by his coat and was shaking him violently.
Yeah, he did and all. Though me noggin was about to fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I'd been born as me brother, I was.
And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that?
I ain't got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me whistle like that and started shaking me. Why the blazes did you mention? Why the blazes didn't you mention that third gun when we got you down to the station? Well, that's what he said. Yelled it right down my ear hole, he did. My head's still throbbing now.
The way the detective behaved then was extremely out of character. But looking back now, it must have been that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself in order to hide the disc.
Well, bless my wig, he hid it.
You!
But I'm afraid I failed to comprehend the motive here. If the detective had acquired the disc he was after, why on earth would he then proceed to hide it in another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. Why ever not? As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions.
My orders were regarding the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and to do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush.
Hush-hush, a top-secret assignment, is it? As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from confidential government communications. It would seem that if the information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector?
I'm operating under direct orders from the ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question.
So, realizing that there was a chance you might be searched here in this court, you took steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness. Does this mean...
He only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him. to slip the second disc into his pocket.
So it was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit to the accusation made against you of this alleged deal?
Admit to it, yours truly, please. Mr. Graydon, clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed that this to the inspector.
Objection.
But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit. So sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder, leaking government secrets, striking a deal with the detective, all of this young Eastern man's fancy. I have no idea what any of it is about. You. What? Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as Scotland Yard Inspector, I will declare this as nothing more. I am acting in the best interest of the country. Whatever I've done, it's been in the name of justice. So, as members of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guiding light when you're making your decisions.
This is quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness in the concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leanings.
Well now, as a fellow servant of Queen and country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me.
Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really.
Graydon is highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idol, stop.
The detective has very much trust in eyes. More than this, I cannot say.
I don't believe it. These 6 jurors they're going to believe Gregson. If they declare their decision now.
Is Jenny gonna be found guilty?
If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're going to lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets. Or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting they shook a deal with the witness.
Well then, counsel, I think it's time I post on the jurors to decide to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court.
If I let the jury call on the jurors to announce their verdicts, you know we're found guilty.
So this is no choice then, Muno. You have to throw some more evidence at them.
This is it now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against, Gregson or Graydon? Yes, Graydon. Mr. Graydon, there is one final piece of evidence I would like you to see. You misguided fool. Whatever you intend to show me now, you will be wasting your time. I have nothing left to lose. I assure you, I will admit to nothing. This is my last chance. It looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get him to admit to the deal he's clearly struck on the stand. Okay. Okay, I'm screwed. I think I'm screwed.
Take that!
Okay, I think I got this. Okay, yes, I got it right.
Is that Mr. McGilden's peculiar music box, counsel?
Yes, with a disc already in place, ready to play. I knew this is what we had to do, basically. We had to play both discs, but I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time, with the second disc we just discovered set in place as well.
Goodness, this disc, Council.
Hold it!
No! What? Oh, I can't let you do that! Why not? Because I don't want you to! Well, because it's got nothing to do with these guys. That's why.
Objection.
Not true, Inspector. Eh? The defense has already proposed that the sound heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse Code message. We know that Morse Code comprised of 2 distinct tones. The defense believes that the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. But grow that answer, Joe. We're talking about state secrets here. If you go let the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? And in order to protect those state secrets, you engage in unlawful dealings with the witness. You're mad! You let that secret information out to the public domain. You'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot!
Objection.
Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leads confidential case secrets to a witness. Thus, that you can continue to lie to the court, and all because, by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare! I will stop at nothing to protect my clients. I don't care who I make an enemy of. My lord, if you please, the court must hear the sounds made by the music box. Come on, Van Sakes, for Pete's sake, stop him!
Objection! Talk to the boot! Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I am a prosecutor with a vampiric outfit, an vampiric outfit, and a mullet, who drinks wine from fancy glasses and smashes the fancy glasses. I play by my own rules. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. Ugh. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth by fair means or foul.
No!
Very well, the defense's stance here and that of the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to the music box. The court will now listen as this music box is set into operation once more. This time with the second disc in place, and both discs play simultaneously.
Oh, listen to that. It must be on. I don't know who's speaking. Is it juror number 5? Sorry. Oh, all right. I admit it. Whatever you want. But for the love of God, shut that blooming box up. Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon?
Specifically, did you furnish this witness with confidential text details in exchange for the music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector?
I did. Stop! What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess and we were stood there in the stand together, that's when he approached me with the deal. Shut up, you imbecile! Shut up! Psst, you there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbroker there, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector. With me at this very moment. So how about that thread I suggest you accept? Or information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed.
I couldn't let that information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances, so I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door and the blood stains on the overcoat.
By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury.
I did. But then it turned out that the peephole had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard was aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime, namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbroker in the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windebank.
You.
Title!
No! Help me, milady! Help me, your ladyship! Save me!
Just fry choke. Yeah, Gregson begging Iris for help.
Bailiff, restrain that man! At once!
That's it then. It's all over. I despised my life growing up. Those slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying, to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole.
And you eventually became a communications officer. I admit your determination.
But then you decide to try to sell government secrets? Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me up in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. Then one day I met him. Mr. Magnus McGidded. You're a fiend with a queer talent, so you are. I've money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me little plan now. First, okay, here's the plan. Take off your shirt and dance for me. I don't care if it makes you feel awkward. You're gonna dance for me. I was to steal the ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGidded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the ministry's communications office, it was a simple enough task.
The lure of the devil's offerings. How easy it is to succumb. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing.
And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable.
By using the music box.
My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right. He was very skilled with his hands. He once had been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse Code. So I sought out my father again to employ his services. It was the first time I had seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. And then I like how just sinister they make Milverton look. Literally, they make him look like some sort of villain in a James Bond film with just how he's sitting in that chair menacingly with the cane and with the light reflecting off his glasses. Like he's masterminding this whole scheme. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory, a thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. I've got some work for you for there, but I need the music boxes. Okay, son, but first off, what the hell are you speaking with that French accent for? What are you talking about? I have always spoken with this accent. No, you haven't. You never even went to France. You never even seen French. I want to sound fancy. Is that too? I want to sound fancy. Is that too wrong? Music boxes, A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to send to the public. I brought the score with me. There are two, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I didn't work like this, though. Fetch me my tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had him make the 2 discs.
Thereby splitting the information too. You were taking considerable precautions indeed.
It was to protect myself as much as anything. I meant that I could deal with my guilty in 2 separate transactions. The first involves the first of the 2 discs and the music box for playing them. In exchange, I exchanged them with Mikide for 10 guineas. Then, on the receipt of the second disc, he would pay me 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago? Was the second part of the deal the exchange of the second disc? Yes. I sold the man information that way a number of times already, but it seems he became reluctant to part with his money.
Well, that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it on the omnibus 2 months ago, your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilden and not yourself?
When I received these 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilden. Wait, 1,000? Didn't you just say it was 10? I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take some money from McGilden. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the discs I'd asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then I found out what sort of monster McGilden really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name I would spin for him to exact revenge. Revenge?
As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, McGilden brought all of his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial.
Excuse me.
The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. The trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish.
My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into that hornet's nest completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I'd made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilden by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you are willing to pay the price, there are people in the city willing to do anything you ask. McGilden himself had shown that to me. Or are you saying that I think you have the picture now? After he twisted everything to his favor in his courtroom to ensure that he walked free, I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice the monster deserved. That tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilden's death that day was caused by this man. Everything is right, sir. Everything is right, sir. If you'd follow me to the courtroom. What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe. I hope this is inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule. Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. At least I can take confidence that nothing bad will happen, because nothing bad happens to Magnus McGilded. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. So that policeman who came to tell McGilded he could examine the omnibus again. That's right. That's right. Why is my French accent going Australian all of a sudden? That's right, an imposter hired by me. McGilded used his way to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all of the matters of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. And according to what I heard, he asked you to take off your shirt multiple times and dance for him. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. The omnibus was doused in paraffin. One of my sham policemen ushered me guilty inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death.
A spine-chilling account indeed.
But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. A loose end. Yes, I think it is obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken to exchange with McGilded.
Ah, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime.
When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of the 2 discs, and the music box you need to play them. Well, look at that now. One ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for ye, young man. What's this? Windybank's pawnbrokery? That's right. I can give you the deed to his pawnbrokery. That way you can make that 10 guineas back and more. Aye, it's a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an autograph deposit there for ye. There's no need to give a name, just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend the last word. I put a jewel in a bond for ye. He'll let you go 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. I've never heard of a pawnbrokery being used in quite such a way before. Have ye not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokers are very useful places, you know. Each one of them is an extremely skilled vault. So I knew that if he had taken step to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And that on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. And now I just realized I did not make a joke. Hello, Magnus McGilded. You killed my father, and now I am here for revenge. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Windybank's that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How do you know who you were looking for? From the trial, that pickpocket testimony was clearly peculiar. Anyone could have seen it. I realized immediately that she was another of McGilded's pawns, and that he must have threatened her somehow. I was very convinced it would be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. And he was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went into Windybank to redeem the articles, but unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilded's overcoat and the 1 disc that was in his pocket. The all-important music box with the second disc inside was missing.
Because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier.
But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my night-time excursion.
Meanwhile, as our investigation to the stolen government secrets was progressing, we picked up on the fact that McGilded was involved.
Inspector, you recovered fast.
My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible. So we started gathering the fella's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard, but we had to keep it as quiet as we could.
Then, sorry. Yeah, so I had to give him McGilda's voice. Then, when the inspector took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc was still there in the shop somewhere. So I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the music box. I saw the McGilda on the shelves of forfeited articles.
And the second disc was inside.
Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened.
What are you doing in my shop?
A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm.
The broker fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb.
Yes, exactly, but unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Before I knew what had happened, I had fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled to the storeroom door for refuge.
A sorry tale.
It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo ever realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Windy Banks on that wretched night.
Earlier, you called Miss Gilded a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony. For what you have done is exactly the same. You become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded.
Yes, I think I have. And I gotta adjust my shorts.
Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial. However, it would seem that at last we have arrived at the truth.
Wow, only 43 minutes in. That's much faster than I thought it would be.
Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon?
He's been restrained, my lord, and being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Winterbike and the stealing of government secrets.
Very good. And you, Inspector, regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself.
Yes, my lord, of course.
It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains, whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable. Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Yeah?
It is time for the final education. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir. Graydon Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decision to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
That's the stuff. I'm off the hook.
Finally, Bruno, you managed to do it.
Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there.
Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world.
Miss Lestrade, I am not finished with you yet.
Eh? What? Why you look at me like that for?
Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider.
Eh?
2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Mr. Winterbank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilden's property, it seems.
Eh? I never done nothing of the sort. Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilden's coat in your cell yesterday or anything.
Aw, and just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Jenny this evening.
And turning our attention to the defense. Determining that, when played together, the music box discs contained a message in Morse Code was, well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, counsel. Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast to demanding that government secrets be dismantled before the entire courtroom.
Ah! But very sorry about that. It was the only way that I could get Inspector Gregson to admit what he'd done, so... If I may say something on that point, isn't that... It's, about the sounds produced by that music box before. I do wonder if it was really Morse code at all. What? What are you saying, madam? Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world becomes covered in dots and dashes for me, in fact.
Goodness, madam. An unhealthy level of obsession one feels.
But I must say that in my opinion, the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that. A meaningless series of two different tones. What? What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all? My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again. Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you? Those discs contain ministerial secrets, sunshine.
This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications. We know McGilden conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further.
But it's really going to bother me.
Miss Lestrade!
Yeah, me lord?
That which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to befall any child.
Come on, it ain't nothing I don't see most days in the back slums.
I beg your pardon?
If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want to change it... why can't I speak right now? You gotta start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself.
Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Winterbank, proprietor of a pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty.
Yes, not guilty. Gina and her firework cannon. Gina has a modified bazooka now. Now, basically, Iris can launch explosives. Iris has a literal bazooka.
That is all. Court is adjourned.
Now for the epic duel to end all duels.
On a personal note, I must say you surprised me, my Far Eastern friend.
Oh.
Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within the Englishman, and at the same time saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures.
I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside.
You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again, here in the courtroom, and now we shall do so here with no witnesses. A duel to end all duels.
You did?
When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me how much I hate your entire culture. Of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Though through you I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew, and to try to understand, for knowledge can only answer so many questions.
You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly?
You have to wait until the sequel to find out. Well, you may ask, but you have to wait another game. You wait another 5 cases, and you will know my secrets. And one day when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not.
Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must.
Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey and my retirement from service 5 years ago, it gives me great cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again.
Once again, loading screen. 17th of April, 5:24 p.m. The Old Bailey Defense Antechamber. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? Congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent.
Well, you did what you said, Mr. Naruto. You believed in me right up until the end. You're as odd as your name.
What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I?
No one has ever had before, see? Kept the promise, properly.
That's awful.
I figured something out today. All me life growing up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. That's just cause I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down.
Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson.
Oh, well, if you say so, don't make a fat lot of sense to me though.
I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure.
For crying out loud, pack it in. But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright.
Thanks. This This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. I don't know who it is. I think it's Holmes. Yeah, it is Holmes. Good. I guess right. But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellows? Ah, that voice. It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruto. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ah, yes, it was me all along. I would have said when finally you noticed me. But you people, with your incessant babbling. Ah, but Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, it was me all along, you see. I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh, I escaped with a piece of licorice and a baseball bat. I happened to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who was tending me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruto. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations on order. As a close friend, I tip my hat to you. Oh, thank you. Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice may be. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade? While you've been having the snooze in your nice soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives. Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been being somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Schultz? I won't, Mr. Naruto. And in some ways, I suppose congratulations on over you too, Mr. Lestrade. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but an acquittal in a trial with that particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean? Because anyone who's been found guilty in a trial he was working on winds up dead anyways. Is that it? The very point I was trying to make. As exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGill, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. Oh, really? Course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like I'm upstairs. Like him upstairs. Him upstairs, you mean like God? Yeah. Him upstairs knows what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. He wouldn't have gotten the wrong end of the stick. There are some coves like that bog trotter who are rotten to the core. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure they get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, I ain't like the McGildeds of this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see? A trait in you which is to be admired, Mr. Strayed. Oi, just give it a rest, all right? As I was saying, congratulations on order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. Well, There
you are, Hurley! How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there.
Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves.
What happened?
As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolts didn't even notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it?
I'm not sure, really.
I beg your pardon?
I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day.
I'll be careful. I like how Holmes is how basically Holmes has acted like he's been disciplined by his mother. Ouch.
Anyways, it's such a shame. I was hoping to go to a party with Ginny tonight. But you won't be able to come, will you?
Don't look like I'm gonna be going nowhere for a while. You had the judge's powder. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offenses. What was it again? Breaking, entering, taking the ball, trying to stuff what was in the lug, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense, it's a job, innit? I don't think so. Still, it's has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Odo? Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyways, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all them lot like me from the slums, something that makes a difference for them.
That's a wonderful idea, Ginny, and I'm sure you can do it.
Heh.
What is it?
Nothing. Miss Gina Lestrade! The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once. Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yes, goodbye, Gina. And good luck. Odo. Yes? I'm gonna pop a cap in your ass. Ah! What was that for? I don't know. I mean, oh no, my tsundere tendencies are coming out. I don't know what to say, so... Indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Mr. Strayed. Eh? On occasions such as this. And I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh.
Oh, yes. It's good advice, Ginny.
Right, I see. Well... Thanks, Odo. Thank you for everything what you've done, for believing in me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. Don't worry, we still have the next game. Well, quite the indomitable pig purse.
Oh, I nearly forgot. I bought paper outside. It's a special edition, and this trial's all over the front page. Pickpocket innocence proven. Isn't it wonderful?
You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled.
Oh no, how silly of me. But anyways, would you like the good news or the bad news?
Not again.
Well, what do you say, Moon now, Hurley?
As usual, I'd rather get the bad news out of the way with first. Absolutely not! I have no intention of listening to anything but good news!
And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it?
Let's not go there.
Alright then, let me start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record-level rainfall, apparently.
Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news?
The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in about ticket is awful, so sailing out of Dover has been delayed by a day or more.
Wait, Dover?
That's right. If we head to the station immediately, we may still be able to make it time to wave Susie off.
But there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who says we need a train, Mr. Naruto? Quickly, Iris, to the Stromscopter! The Holmes chopper! And then basically they run off. They enter basically a helicopter that's shaped like Sherlock's head and just fly off. Mr. Sholmes, I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry there now, we shall make it there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that sells the most delicious baked sole. I don't... The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of rail transport directors' families. What? I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary! Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way. Yeah, and then generations later, all that knowledge just trickles down to Kristoff. Just really, like I said, with each passing moment in this game, just my headcanon of Sherlock being Kristoff and Clavier's ancestor becomes more and more solid, which with each passing second, really. Heck, Kristoff even went to the Mushams in a disguise.
What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria!
That took somewhat longer than I anticipated.
Susie's boat must be about to leave now.
Mr. Sato, where are you? Over there, look. It looks like she's reading something.
Hold it!
Into the water!
Mr. Sato, wait, what are you doing?
Oh, you know that photo album you bought last week, Mr. Naruto? You know that photo album while tossing in the sea? Mr. Naruto, what are you doing here?
We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that the sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see?
Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go?
It went well. She was acquitted.
That's wonderful. Really wonderful news.
The book you were about to throw into the sea, it was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it?
Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. So I was saying my final farewell.
You were saying goodbye to law? You, Susato-san? Would I be correct assuming? It's because of the people, Miss Susato.
I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did was utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? To the art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun! I saw Runo's armband!
Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me.
Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't know it for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flapper mat, so I put it in my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it until I found myself at Mr. Windenake's shop with it later that night.
I see. Sorry.
And then... Mr. Sholmes!
Leave me, Mr. Naruto! Protect my stuff! Right.
After Mr. Naruto had left the shop, I started to think. That door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door.
The storeroom door, you mean?
Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. And at that moment, the little device I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know.
So, you used the cat flap-o-mat to make the people in the door.
As captured in the photographic print of the shop, by one of Hurley's red-handed recorders.
Indeed, it was the first importance at point. Precisely when the people was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruto's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have been annulled to nothing.
But when I looked through the hole in the door, the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remember that trial 2 months earlier. The trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windibank. Even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing.
You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crimes.
That's right, but then I realized. It would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case.
What do you mean?
Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have had to been a way to see beyond the door.
Ah. For which a people would be the very thing.
Only the people I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would have known that, so it wouldn't make any difference.
But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it?
So, is that why you kept their secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the people to anyone, not even the police, or more importantly, me. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong, a criminal offense even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruto was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the people could save him. That was my plan.
She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Ah. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. So Miss Usato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake and Miss Lestrade's. Miss Usato.
The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I'd lost a little of my faith in the law.
Oh?
I was worried about the right person wouldn't be convicted of this crime, but the moment I allowed myself to think that is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant.
And then meanwhile, 100 years later, you get Maya.
Nick! Vasquez killed him! She killed Jack Hammer because she wants to cancel the Steel Samurai!
And then at that point, Susato, she's just, when that was happening with Maya, Susato was just glaring at her. She was just glaring.
This girl is now good! This Phoenix, abort! This girl is now good! Get rid of her, Phoenix! And then Maya, what are you saying to me? I'm one of Phoenix's assistant!
Maya, who are you talking to?
The ghost girl, Nick!
What'd you say? Isn't comparable to what he said. Graydon is the one who lied on the witness stand, using that people as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the people inconsistency had existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Miss Susato, what you did saved Gina's life.
Well,
Sorry. I was about to go back into the original Maya voice I was going to give Susato, which I am so glad I didn't. I swear, if I would have given Susato that Maya voice, I would have been destroyed in my throat. Well, what?
Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruto, you saved me too from my regrets.
Well, we must all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been secured. Yes, exactly. Although some of the loose ends of that trial will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure.
But the revelation that the music box disc contained secret messages, Mr. Naruto. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration.
Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was.
Oh, it wasn't?
There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see, a telegraph operator, and she said that the majority of the sounds in the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect, after all, we are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. In cipher, I see. So, then, we could never have hoped to understand the message anyways. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-byte problem, I assure you. Hey. So, Gee. What?
Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what'd you say? Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you?
Mean something? Asogi. Was the name of my best friend.
What? But how? How you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box.
She transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius. No, Iris created the code.
I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whenever I tried, the word just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see. There's more than one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added more to Morse code to use in their own languages.
I don't believe it. Are you saying?
That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before. I think it's based on the Eero heart panagram, isn't it?
And you mean to say that in Japanese Morse code, the message is asogi?
Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all of the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Mr. Sato, do you know it?
Mr. Sato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code?
Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications.
Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version.
Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message, quick. Of course. But what can this possibly mean?
Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes, it's made the color drain from Susato-san's face.
There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code.
So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications.
I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names.
4 names?
The first is Kei Asogi.
Kazuma Asogi. Why was his name on that disc?
The second is A Shin.
Shin? I don't recognize that name.
The third is T Gregson.
Gregson?
He has become oh my gosh! Ryunosuke! Mr. Naruto! Gregson has become anime!
Oh no! Sulky has become anime! And then basically just, I'm imagining some Neo Evangelion intro, you know, like that Daru Shori, Daru Shori, that, you know, that intro, basically just that intro, but with Gregson and the Sulkin brothers, the 3 Sulkin brothers. Gregson. it would seem that Shoki Gregson is the third man on the list. And what's his name doing a secret government communication as well?
And the last name.
What's the matter, Miss Susato?
It's just so strange. So unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep me in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. What?
Wilson?
John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy?
I'm your daddy now, Iris. Do not fret.
Oh no! I'm doomed! It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then after the 4 names it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message, or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris.
I just can't believe it. Who would ever have thought that those discs contain Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names. It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan.
So, Daddy could still be in Japan then! Where's Susie and Muno come from? Oh, well. No, it's not very likely really, is it? I mean, there are 1,000 people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them.
Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumai University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. We have to wait until the sequel at the most dramatic moment when the climax is its peak. This is so strange. Somehow, in solving the case of Mr. Windibank's murder today, I feel like I've rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave.
I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside, at least until the 5th case of the next game. Oh dear, the ship is going to get set sail soon.
Yes, it seems so.
I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change onto a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. No, we are really going then, Susie.
We wish you a safe passage, Miss Susato.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best.
Miss Susato, I had hoped to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me.
Mr. Naruto!
Please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world.
I'm quite sure. I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. A promise? About your manuscript. Ah!
Oh yes, the Hounds of the Baskersvilles.
Well, I'll be waiting then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Next game. Mr. Naruto.
Yes?
Do you remember the first time we met?
Yes, of course. On the SS Boria, when I was dragged out from the wardrobe, still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Susato takedown.
You know very well what I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy.
Miss Susato.
And my instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Yeah, really, how was I expecting Naruto to not be able to the great detective part with Holmes and that exit portion? Basically, he's like, and I met a detective. And then basically for the friends portion, I met the greatest of friends, and Holmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruto! Yes, Mr. Sholmes, I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the Special Express train, apparently. Huh? It's not a Saturday game until we get the objection.
It caused such a commotion on the line, all the other trains had to wait at the stations.
But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyways, I explained everything, and how it was all your fault. Huh? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow, according to Miss Usato.
You love defending yourself in court.
Huh?
It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify against you. He really did look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See?
I love how basically just Iris has this dubious side where basically you know that when she gets older, she's gonna essentially take on this sort of legacy. She's gonna take on just this Blaze the Best-esque legacy where she will cause chaos and destruction. Freaking 110-year-old Iris. She has all of London under her control in some way, shape, or form. She controls the underworld. She controls the criminal underworld. No activities can get past her. And basically, she just controls it all. Mr. Sholmes. Yes? A word, if you don't mind. I certainly, any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow.
Oh yes, I love Bruno's words, and I know I know just the one he'll use here.
Then, I really must say...
Objection!
Hand raise! Okay, so we're not getting any dialogue. Okay, good. In that case, I'll actually be able to explain my thoughts of the playthrough during the actual race. But first, I'll wait a moment. Okay, no, there is dialogue as usual. In the following weeks, hundreds of music boxes arrived at Baker Street from all over Europe. Something was afoot. Though it transpired, I had ordered them all myself. So I advertised them for sale with used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case. And the money I've earned, consulting detective work pays a pittance by comparison. And then we see Iris starting the milk business. She's starting her illicit milk business.
I haven't slept a wink. This man shifted to tomorrow now. When I'm this busy, honey usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement. For some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfast. Please don't leave me with Holmesy.
Yeah, really, just get Iris someone who can cook. Get Sholmes a cookbook.
Witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions.
Exactly! Rarely do rare cobalt going tied under rare stakes themselves. I will kill you with this bottle. I don't know that knows his father is an innocent man, or you calling my son a liar. Baby will rule this world. Witness, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments. and then Baby starts manipulating the judge with some dark magic.
Having delivered the Russian down to the shore in Shanghai, I laid low on the sheepship for a while. But last night, I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board.
I've done nothing wrong! All I did was give one guys offering refuge in my pocket. A man brings some kids on board, and suddenly he's a hardened criminal! It's not fair! Don't throw me overboard! No!
And then, at that moment, Soseki becomes the next victim of the Reaper of the Bailey. Scientific investigation will be the gold standard for policing in the new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline, like a great clock effect whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. I am in no way ominous and mellow and megalomaniac. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll put 2 minutes and 37 seconds to prepare for my next appointment. I'm a good man, you know. I'm a very good person.
The latest Rights magazine is out, and I'll be there again. Oh no! My little ladyship, please don't hurt me. Whenever I say that one-liner, I get sound your mission. Want to hear it? Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Ha! Her ladyship puts me to shame. How can't she turn that? I'm not saying that to hide the fact that she cut off one of my toes for that last trial. Oh God, she still haunts me with the baseball bat. There was a cat door on my bedroom door. I'm not safe.
Been missing the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Johnny, my old jailbird. Must say, battling with those Bali upstairs every day has been a wonder for the Dicky Bag. Managing rather well with the housework too. Got this maid business taped up, I say. Hope the gossiping neighbors don't realize the man of this house is his own maid. Yeah, and now I can have an affair with my book wife. Basically, the woman who basically sent that note, it was really to him. Joan was not being paranoid. It was all true. Just John went by another name.
My Rooney is back on the beach again. Oh, thanks to the Reaper.
There's nothing I enjoy more these days than hunting out small change in the gutter. I'm a better Bobby now, looking out for Londoners that drop pennies and my lovely wife. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rooney.
And then she throws Rolly into the flames. Looks like I'm gonna be doing time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for a nada, so I ain't too boring. She's always going on about them cases what Shums is looking into. Criminal investigations are kinda interesting when you get into them. This is in no way foreshadowing for the next game. Yes, I renounce my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime. But regrets, please. Get over it, bruv. That ain't the Ash we used to know.
We got time here to plan the comeback of Milverstein and Solkin's milk run, right?
The Three Musketeers, milk in the neighborhood for all it's worth. Yes, and they team up with Iris. They become Iris's goons. Grayson becomes a freaking capo and Iris's organization.
This past 6 months have been a time I shall remember evermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life is all about. Naruto-san, I promise, your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish that life will treat you well.
Okay, are we gonna get booted back to the title screen now? Are we getting extra dialogue? No, we get more! More credits! More everything! Just, okay. I don't think there'll be any dialogue now. Anyways, I just want to say that this playthrough has been quite the memorable experience for me. On the grounds that, essentially, this has been a playthrough of just dealing with the demon that is my audio quality. I swear, just every episode of this playthrough, I have been nervous when recording because the audio would be just so all over the place. I don't know why, at least I don't know if it's my headphones, I don't know what, but basically just sometimes the audio sounds good, sometimes it's overwhelming, and we get Baby, of course, Baby being evil. But anyways, as I was saying, when it comes to Ace Attorney games, I have to say that this is one of the, this game is one of the better titles in the series, where basically I would highly suggest it for anyone coming into the series, because the cases are pretty solid, and it basically doesn't have a lot of the problems that a lot of the earlier games have. Essentially, don't get me wrong, I love the main series Ace Attorney games. I do. However, basically, Ace Attorney Adventures really does streamline a lot of the issues that I've had with the previous titles. Basically, the cases are pretty much to the point. They don't really linger on anything. And the best part is, they basically really cut a lot of the fat out of the investigation portions, where they give you enough of the investigation portions to basically get an idea of what's going on, to basically see the world, get a grasp of the setting. However, they don't send you back for a second round, which results typically in you basically running into a dead end, and you're like, what the heck is going on? What am I missing? What am I missing? And not to mention the summation examinations and as well as the dance of deductions, basically. Those are pretty good because they're very dynamic. It's a lot of fun guesswork, and basically it is like a puzzle in a way. But anyways, I did have a lot of fun, all says done. And basically, this was a very good series, I have to say. Sure, it started out a bit slow with the first case, but overall, as the game progressed, I was having more and more fun with it, because basically, the story does get snappier, it does get faster paced. It's just, basically, this game just falls under the effect that a lot of Ace Attorney games have had, where basically, the first case gets longer and longer with each passing game. I'm serious, just, the first case in this was 9 full episodes, and these weren't short episodes, mind you. These were about 30-minute long episodes, with 2 of them being an hour long. And mind you, the first case, while it is a good setup point, yeah, really. One thing I'm disappointed at is that they didn't have Susato doing a Susato takedown on McGilded right there. I swear. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Just, the first case was especially hard this time around because whenever they have Pain as basically a Pain or a Pain-like character as the first prosecutor, I essentially use the Pain voice. Where in the first couple Ace Attorney games, basically, in the first 4 Ace Attorney games, where basically Pain was an actual main part of the main cases, he wasn't really too present for too long. Essentially, where it was like, okay, for example, in the first Ace Attorney game, okay, Pain was in one episode mainly in the very first game. Second game, Pain was in 2 episodes, and then basically in the third game, it was around 4 or 5 episodes where it was Pain. And even then, Pain wasn't even present in every aspect of the case. However, just with this game, Ouchie was so prevalent during this, was prevalent as the prosecutor for the intro case. And granted, it did do a lot to build up his character, where basically you get an idea of just what kind of person Ouchie is pretty quickly. I mean, it's not like Winston Payne, where it takes 3 games to understand, okay, here's Winston Payne as an overall person. Here's how I can remember Winston Payne. But in this game, it's like, okay, one case, we understand who Ouchie is. We understand that basically he is essentially Pain who's trying to adapt to a changing cultural setting. But even then, it is a thing of, oh hey, Ouchie is adapting off of Pain and basically piggybacking off the legacy, essentially using it as a stepping stone, so we essentially don't have to build up too much. Okay, anyways, we're almost done. Okay, special thanks. Hopefully this will cause us to get back to the main screen. Really, I'm surprised that they don't have Iris leading the charge, because really, Iris is running the show, and you know it. You know that this little 10-year-old girl is running the entire show. She's controlling all the events of the game. Frankly, Iris commands it all. Anyways, let's get back to the title screen. The Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Finn, you played the first game. Now play the second one. No, I'm not going to be playing the second one immediately after this one, because I already have Let's Play 40 planned out, and frankly, that one's going to be pretty fun in itself. Okay, are we just going to be on the screen forever? No. Okay, we get touching photo, and we are officially back at the title screen with the dock. You get a dock. Congratulations. Anyways, I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this series. You're a great viewer, and I hope you come back for the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, and do whatever you want. And with that, I'll see you at the start of my next Let's Play, the start date of which will be posted in the description of this episode. And with that, I'll see you later. Bye.